Today we're going to talk about a very important topic: why spiritual awakening breaks your relationships. Why? Why are these relationships falling apart? While I feel good and I feel like I'm becoming more aware and I'm exploring more within myself and the world that I live in, and I'm making deeper connections in other areas too. Why is this spiritual awakening? Why does spiritual awakening break apart relationships? Let's dig in. So some of the reasons why this happens is because what once served the greater good, and here's where most people replace the greater good with what serves you and what serves you and this, and that's a very self-serving mentality that's coming out in those words. You can hear it. But what serves the greater good? What makes you the best for all involved? That's the greater good. You see, when I was in a relationship with my ex, for example, it wasn't for the best of the family that we remained together. That was a very hard pill to swallow, and something that I tried to hold together indefinitely, and it definitely didn't work. And the reason was because we weren't our best selves together. And the same thing happens with clients or businesses and different partnerships and things that happen all over. The reason why is because when a certain person or certain people come to a certain point, that no longer serves the greater good of all involved in the situation. And while one may seem like the loser and another may seem like the winner in a certain situation like this, you're both winners if you can carry some perspective in the situation. Oftentimes one leaves at a higher place where they realize what they truly deserve and they don't deserve to be treated poorly, and they leave the relationship or they leave the situation, and sometimes they leave it with a lot of anger and frustration, and they put it out at the other person. I know that I went through this myself. There's a lot of mixed emotions that weren't yet shown in the relationship that are shown after the relationship. Like they say, how you part from somebody really shows the character that was there the whole time. When two people separate, you start to see the sum of parts that were included in that relationship that weren't being shown. And most of the time, this turns out to be very covert. They say the wolf in sheep's clothing. Well, it's very true. There is such thing as covert, hostile people. I've dealt with some recently where someone's hostility just continues to come out towards me because I chose to distance myself and no longer maintain a relationship because I could see it. I could read it. I could feel it. And I didn't listen for the first little bit, and that was on me. But after I listened, this person began to attack. The same way that they were covertly attacking energetically the whole time during the relationship. You see, some people are in it just for themselves, not for the greater good of all. And they project this onto you. They project this into your reality because it's their reality. Their reality is that it's all about me. If you don't help me, and I'll give you this example. I had a client that paid me money. I kept my contract terms that I signed with this client. They paid me this money. And 2 to 2.5 months in, all this time and all this energy and all this giving that I had produced for this person, they weren't practicing what we had produced and what we had created, and they weren't following what was being stated and what was agreed upon on their end. And they were warned once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times they were warned that this has to stop. It got to a point where I was allowing myself to be abused. I was allowing my time to be abused. They were calling at 2, 3, 4 in the morning, sending hateful messages because they were upset that they weren't getting the results as fast as they wanted them. Now, I can only take a certain amount of that responsibility before I'm willing to say that that person needs to take some responsibility. And this stuff happens in relationships too. Sometimes when people pay us money in a business relationship, sometimes when people pay us money in another relationship, or sometimes when people provide for us, they have control of us. I just watched a movie last night where there's this like evil Russian guy, running his empire and stuff like that, and he's ready to take the whole world down with himself because he's sick. And you see, that's just how sick people operate. People that have a sick-minded mentality towards the world. They want to take everyone down with them because they feel so down. And this may mean that somewhere along in their life, and this is why I have compassion for them and pray for them and hope that they do well, but I will not allow myself to be affected by them. You see, this is true toxic behavior. And when someone's treated that way, they learn to treat others the same way they were treated. What was done to them is something they now do to others. And this is truly a very deep root of sickness and illness in our world. A lot of people project this self-serving mentality onto others when the reality is they're just trying to survive for themselves, and they don't belong to groups, they don't belong to nature, they don't belong to other people. And in this sense of belonging, there's a longing for more, there's a longing for more connection. They just don't know how yet, right? They don't know how to navigate this. So these relationships float away when you become more awake to what you truly deserve. And when they float away, this person may come and try to really get in there and attack more and do more toxic behaviors to control a situation that now feels out of their control, because in many ways you were a source of energy and attention for them that they may not be getting in their lives. And what they do in this instance is they create a situation that mirrors the illusion in which they live. So more and more, I'm happy, I'm doing well, I'm doing fine, everything's great. Deep down inside, there's a hostility, an anger, an upset, a known truth that things aren't all okay, but I'm going to act like it's all okay. And I'm going to show the world that I'm just fine. And this is deep, deep suppression. And this is a deep reason why these relationships need to separate, because if anyone who's spiritually awake, truly spiritually awake, is around a person like this, that beautiful spiritual energy that's within you will become tormented and become pulled down, and you'll feel this weight come off when these type of people exit your life. These are truly vampiric natured people that believe in possessions and believe in money and believe in these things that are really not what the world is all about, what true value is all about, what things are really worth. So I'm kind of sending this as a message myself as well, to myself and to the world, that I no longer would ever be controlled by the amount of income a client gives me if they don't follow some simple, respectable, ethical rules that we sign on for, right? One person has taught me this. And what a beautiful lesson that I can now teach to others. That what people say about you is often what they feel about themselves. What people put out there towards you, the hateful things they say towards you, is a deep hatred they carry within themselves. That's coming from within. So what do? What do you do when you're separating from people like this? You love them. But you love them from a very, very good distance. You get your distance, you get your space, and you love them from there. And you pray that these people hopefully realize that this is not the right way to mold anything together within yourself. Hating somebody never makes you better. Loving somebody will hopefully one day make them feel better about the love that they may have never gotten. Because I know I've been to this place before myself. When I was in my 20s, I was a pretty hateful guy. I didn't like very many people. When I played sports, I'd be playing with hatred in my bones. So I know the feeling of projecting this into the world. I know the feeling of trying to push this out at other people and even hurt people in the process of pushing it out at them. Bad intentions, negative intentions. When your intentions are pure and you know that you want the best for these people and you know that you tried your best, you did absolutely everything you can, the only loving thing to do is to let go. This is the only loving thing to do, is to let go. Let them go with love. And if they're meant to be in your life, they will be back in your life with respect, honor, and ethical behavior. Deep one, but why relationships break apart when we are spiritually awakening? Why, when we're spiritually awakening, do relationships break apart? This is why. Because when you're awake to what you truly deserve, you no longer deserve the treatment of people taking from you. People can receive what you have to give, but when they start to take from you and they demand more and more and more, and then no matter how much you give, it's never enough. This is truly toxic people and truly toxic behavior. And while there is a source of their toxic behavior, and they do have something where this is coming from, or something they've been taught where this is coming from, it's not your responsibility. What is your responsibility is to be the best version of yourself. And if that's taking away from that, the separation occurs naturally. I love you guys. Be well.